podcast. Hour-long show. We talk about esports, sometimes other sports, sometimes what's going on in our lives. I got Rich back with me. Rich, what's going on, man?
Hey,
What up?
uh, doing well, doing well. Another beautiful Sunday. Been watching football all day. Can't really
Oh,
complain.
you ain't been watching that baseball?
A bit. Um, I not a huge. I mean, my Cardinals are out, so and I don't really love watching the Red Sox beat up on the Astros too much. Little
Oh,
salty about the Red Sox
that's a
still.
shame. That was a shame. I was upset about that one. Um, yeah, I can't believe they did so rough on that.
Yeah, definitely pulling for the Stros.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, so I guess before we begin, our main topic is it says in the title where we talk about the Overwatch League, but some pretty big news actually came out earlier in the week. It was broken by Kevin Hitt, who writes for us, and it's about the group Denial. I don't know, Rich, since you cover Hearthstone quite a bit. I don't know if they had a Denial player at all in the game at all.
No, I don't think there's a denial Hearthstone player. They're really more focused on all their team sports, I think.
Well, you saw what happened, right?
Yeah.
They pretty much just put it nicely. They screwed the players over. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They just messed up the players good, and then the guy tried to run away with it, almost like a Joker from Batman esque type of escapade. Um, for those who don't know, Denial was an esports organization that had like a following and a team in H1Z1, Overwatch, Smite, Halo, stuff like that. Some of the bigger ones, some of the smaller ones, and yeah, it's been actually happening a little too much in my eyes lately. They didn't pay the players properly,
Yeah.
whether it's less than what they said or just straight up not at all. Now, Denial isn't the only group that's done this before. Enix has had issues. There's other organizations that have been accused of not paying, and then some, pretty much straight up proven, hey, you're not paying me. Where's my cash?
Yeah, it's too big of an issue in the esports world, unfortunately. I guess it's organizations biting off more than they can chew, being like, oh, we'll get the money when they win, and then they don't get the prize pools they think they're gonna get, I guess. Or it's just bad money management, bad leadership. I'm not sure what the issue is in the or in the esports world with this.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like, I think it's a lot too is because esports is still kind of younger before it's really like growing in stride. Even though you have like Dota and League of Legends and stuff like that, people don't know if it's going to do well or not. So younger business models and managers in general are like, hey, I'm going to go purchase this. So they purchase the naming rights or whatever of it. The kids that are with the team, they pay, and then the guy's like, "Oh, I totally forgot I had to pay you guys."
Yeah.
Um, a
And
lot.
maybe it's because I don't know. I feel like a lot of organizations are run by really young people, and so they might not. I mean, I feel like sometimes like, oh yeah, start an esports organization. Then they get all these people on their payroll, and they realize they have no idea what they're doing, like actually behind the scenes of these organizations. I don't know. That's sort of the feeling I get from the way some companies are run.
No, I agree with that, and I mean, okay, so there are respectable companies out there. Do not get me wrong. I'm not saying every single organization's like this. There are some that pay their players promptly, and they pay them if they do well. They do well, and if not, they'll pay the players when they leave or whatever. But stuff like Denial and a few other, like Most Wanted is another one. There's too many like cases of it in my eyes.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
like these kids are, some of these kids are 16, 17 years old. They're putting it's pretty much to them, it's a full time job. So they're putting, all their time, all their free time into it, and then they don't get paid. Some of these kids in like the 20, 21-year olds are college students. You got to pay your tuition somehow, even though you're still You might be going for something good. If you don't get that money to help pay for the organization or from the organization, then your tuition bills might suffer if you expect to, pay with some of those. And if you're going to a more prestigious school, of course, you got that idea. So,
Yeah. Speaking as someone fresh out of college, those tuition bills are no joke.
oh, I mean, I've been a few years out of college. They still are no joke. They'll
Yeah.
never be a joke. Like they're serious. It's a heart attack. Sometimes they get overpaid. It's like, you know, what's that word? Inflated too much. That's the word I'm thinking of. All right. So,
Oh yeah.
anyways, um, this guy, his name is Ringadala.
Yeah.
Ringnalda. Ringnalda.
I'm glad you were taking a shot at that because I saw Robbie Rinalda.
Yeah, I would say Ringnalda, but that's just okay. So I'm just going to call him Robbie from here on out.
That's a good call.
Our Kevin hit. Wrote about how he wasn't paying, and he instead used some of that money that he owed the players from all the organizations, especially his H1Z1, and Counter Strike especially. He didn't pay them, so he decided to take a vacation while he was $100,000 in debt. I don't understand. Like, hey, how are you supposed to, like, it's like buying a Ferrari when you can barely afford your Focus. Like, why are you doing this? Pay the Focus off first and then go enjoy something better. Um, I don't like it. I don't know if there's a way they could, like, come out legally to take care of this or something. And I sure as hell hope they do, because this is completely asinine.
Yeah. Well, it depends. I feel bad for because so many you mentioned earlier, so many esports players are so young, so we don't know what their contracts look like with denial, and who knows if these kids got proper legal, like they got a proper legal look over, got a lawyer to look over these contracts first, and so in a lot of cases they might actually be kind of screwed if they didn't really take the time to check what they were signing before they started playing for denial.
Yeah, and I just don't like that at all. And one of the things I'm liking about the new Overwatch League coming out, and League of Legends is doing it, and recently Smite and their counterpart of High Res Paladins are doing it, is they're giving them a base salary, like $30,000 minimum for the Overwatch League. It's $50,000 a year. You're paying the kids this money. You're giving them benefits, and you're going to make it. If it's going to be a full-time job to them, you're going to make them. You're going to pay them like it's a full-time job, which is
Yeah.
even better. Like, it's just weird. And then just like you said, we don't know how they can, get legal help. Maybe there's a bunch of esports like lawyers out there, and I'd love to talk to a couple, see like how it would actually work to protect such a young kid, especially as they can't really sign contracts till they're 18.
That's a good point. Yeah, their parents have to look over it, don't they?
Yeah, and I mean, as much as our generation loves the esports scene, parents aren't really too keen on video games, and they'll just probably think it's a flash in the pan. It's like, oh well, little Timmy, you're going to go and be a factory worker or go to college for accounting or whatever like that. This video game stuff, just don't worry about it. So the parent might be a little reluctant to actually, sign the papers and stuff.
Yeah, you definitely see that in a lot of cases. But I mean, hell, if you're looking at kids who are 16 and 17 years old and they're now signing a contract to do something, if you're a parent, I mean, when I was 16 and 17 years old, I was like going to school, getting through my classes, and playing basketball after school. So if a kid was like putting the time in and made a contract, like I don't know, I guess I can only speak for myself, and I'm a member of this generation, but I'd be like, awesome, man, you're working hard and it's just coming off as a reward. But I guess yeah, some parents definitely don't see it like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not blaming the older generation, because they've done stuff that their generation before. It's like, I don't know, but like, especially sports, like back in the 70s, quarterbacks had to get a second job during the off season. A lot of people didn't know that, but yeah, they had to go be plumbers and
Yeah.
I don't know, circus acts. I don't know until the real money started pouring in.
Circus acts.
I can't think
What?
of anything off the top of my head,
Who would
man.
be who's the current quarterback who'd have the best circus act?
Blake Bortles. I mean, his
Just
play is circus act. Like, I'm sorry, that was mean.
that was
True.
quick too. I love how quick your answer was
Oh,
on
Blake
that.
Bortles. Oh, it's just off the top of my head. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, Geno Smith, but he's now around. He got punched. Yeah. So, to answer your question, it's definitely Blake Bortles.
It's gotta be. It's
Uh,
gotta be. I feel like that was one of the quarterbacks where I saw he actually was good for a little while, but when he was drafted by the Jaguars, I was like bust.
oh yeah.
Calling it right there.
Nah,
Drafted third by the Jaguars. Isn't he's like from where? South Florida? Central Florida?
Central Florida, yeah.
Central Florida. Yeah, I was just like, oh, that's just not the team you want to go to, man.
Oh
And
no.
they actually did put some receivers around him.
Oh yeah, they definitely tried to help him out, and they just fell. So yeah, pretty much. But
Yeah.
one of the things that's going to be interesting and awesome is pretty much our main topic today, the Overwatch League.
Yeah. This is
Uh,
huge.
yeah, like if you guys haven't been paying attention, they're finally getting their act together. Like after they're, I don't know, dragging themselves through the mud and quicksand, they finally are picking up what they said they were going to do this whole time, and it looks pretty good. Um, I still have my doubts. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know about you. Rick.
Oh, I have my doubts too. Can we start with those?
Oh yeah,
That's
let's work. Man, what are you talking about? We worked in broadcast journalism. We go negative first, and if we
Oh,
get to the
yeah.
positive, we get to the positive.
yeah. Who cares? Let's talk about the issues with this. Okay. So, or no, you go first. You go first because you started with your doubts, and then
All
I'll,
right, all
I'll
right,
follow.
fine. So, all right, so there's 12 teams. We know this. Uh, it's awesome. They're doing it by cities, which is just great.
Great
So
idea. Great idea.
it is. So you got Philadelphia, Dallas, and other cities that I'll mention later. But a couple of the issues is, I know we've talked about it before, and I've talked about it to a couple of people, but they got 3 Overwatch League teams out, 2 out east and 1 in Europe.
hmm
How's that going to work?
Wait, is
It's
it one in Europe? What? Who's in Europe? There's
London in
Seoul
Europe.
and oh London. London's a team. Oh
Yep.
wow, I missed that. And then you got Seoul and Shanghai out in the east.
Yep. And then, so Shanghai actually are, they just announced their actual team name, and it's the Shanghai Knights with May as their mascot. That name's boring, but that's neither here or there. Like, if you do the rankings of names, a little.
And if they're the Knights, why is May their mascot? Like, shouldn't it be
No, no,
Genji?
no. They're dragons. I'm sorry. Did I say the Knights?
Oh,
No, they're the dragons. They're the Shanghai Dragons. But I think May's their mascot just because she's from China in game. So what they're doing is
yeah,
they're
yeah.
taking their nationality and where they're from in game, and they're using them as mascots for out of game, which is kind of cool. But anyways, back before we go rubbernecking off somewhere.
Yeah.
They have those 3 teams out there, and then the rest of the teams are in America. How are they going to set the schedule up? 'Cause that's a lot of traveling.
Well, they're all playing in one location.
Where they playing?
By season, I might be incorrect on this, but I thought every game was being played in Los Angeles.
That's why they built the arena, right?
Yeah, and then like next year, the entire season's played in Shanghai or something. So it's like you have these teams represented, but they're not like playing at their home place each week.
Okay, so that brings up another question then. Like, as we were saying earlier, with just the organizations in general, you were going to bring these kids away from their, like, oh, I know, most of the family's going to come with them, but you're going to bring them away, and you're going to have them sit in LA for 6 weeks to, like, however long the season is. Like, that's the part
Yeah,
that confuses me. Like,
yeah. And if they're in,
Go ahead.
oh, because the seasons are super long. Most esports seasons, like I don't know, for some reason, Rocket League was the first thing that came to my head, but they're usually really quick, or it's just all based on major tournaments. But this Overwatch season's like a 6-month tournament, so you can't be in school. You can't Like it really is it's a 6 month long league, I think, and so it's really going to be difficult for these kids to just go and live in LA for 6 months.
Yeah, and I mean, LA, like LA's a decent city, like because of the way how it could be cultural for everybody. Like, you know, they have China, well, not Chinatown. That's in San Francisco, the main one. But they have like pockets of
There's
their
one
own
in LA.
culture in there, so it's easier for them to like cope with it per se. But it's still going to be awkward as hell, like coming from your home country to
Yeah.
play a game
I,
for like 6 months.
yeah, it's actually Koreatown that's huge, and Chinatown's a little bit bigger in San Francisco, but
Yeah,
Koreatown is huge in LA.
like I'm reading it and it's weird because they actually will be playing at where the Tonight Show was. Um, that's kind of interesting, anyways. But I like the idea. I just don't understand the idea. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know if you're seeing anything, but
Well, I I think it's they're taking a lot of risks is my biggest issue, and I don't like that they're coming out like every other esport. All your top tier esports have grown organically over time. League is now have some massive prize pools, but it's been out for 8 years, I think
yeah,
9, and Dota has been out a really long time to have these massive prize pools. But now Overwatch is just going to do first season, very first season, they're going to double like league to enter NALCS is 10 million. Overwatch is 20 out the gate. And they really haven't built the esports community behind it. Overwatch is a fun game and a lot of people play it, but there hasn't been much of a competitive scene to speak of. So they're really taking a really big chance that people enjoy watching competitive Overwatch.
right. And I agree with that totally. Like Overwatch is a it's definitely a niche like FPS shooter, which I mean they have their major and minor tournaments, but they don't have like a season like the season that Jeff Kaplan said last year at BlizzCon that he wanted to have like traditional sport NFL NBA esque season. So what I'm trying to figure out with that is how are they going to get the kids there for hell, even if they use like an NFL schedule where it's 16 weeks, that's still what 4 months away from your home country. If you're London, Seoul, or Shanghai, like that's a long time,
Yeah.
and that's really far away. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, it's let's see. The regular season, yeah. So the inaugural season is set to begin January 10th, and the regular season will conclude in June 2018.
Yeah,
So it's a 6 month season.
like how how are these kids going to perform well when they have other stuff on their mind? Because it's going to affect them, like being out
Oh yeah,
from their mindset. And yeah, I don't care about the stereotype of like Korea and China are top tier and that's all they do and stuff. They still have stuff they do outside of gaming, and they need to like help out with that and take a break from it. And if they do the game houses, like living with 4 months, if you don't really know the people, might be stressful because you might not get along in that house at all.
yeah, definitely. There's a lot of potential for, and especially because like it's so different than a regular team because you have your home arena and you're always going back and you have your family to go to, but these kids are way too young. They're not the pros in basketball or football who are 25 to 30 years old. They have families and they travel a lot. They move to different places, and these kids, they're kids. They're 18 years old, 19 years old, and they're moving from Seoul to Los Angeles for 6 months. Many of them have never even been out of their country, and now they're gonna have to deal with culture shock. They're gonna have to deal with an inaugural season. They're gonna have to deal with a ton of pressure because there's 20 million
Yeah,
entry fee.
yeah, and it's just like, all right, like I understand the fact that all right, hey kid, all right, little Timmy, I just put $20 million down on you being successful. You better be successful. Like, kid's going to be thinking about that. It's going to be in the back of his head whether he likes it or not.
Oh, definitely,
Like I know it
definitely.
would for
You're
me
not
because
just
I'm
playing for
almost
yourself.
30. Like, well, I am 30, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I just don't. I don't see it like.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of issues with it. And so one other thing I wanted to bring up real quick is competitive Overwatch just hasn't really been that big of a deal. So I don't know if you know the site Newzoo. They do a lot of great esport metric things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called it's newzoo.com.
Like,
And one of the things,
like new as in NEW and then ZOO.
yeah,
All
like
right.
someone just put a zoo in across the street, it's a new zoo.
All right.
um but it's so one of their lists, they have total hours, esports hours, and this is streamed on Twitch, total hours watched, and then the percentage share of the total hours watched that fall on esports. And like, Dota is at like 65%, League is at 27%, Overwatch is at 17% of the total hours watched on Twitch is like competitive. And that's like it's the second lowest. Only Hearthstone is lower, and that's because Hearthstone is like arena mode is just much more popular and it's constant.
Right.
Where Hearthstone there's like individual tournaments every so often, and they really don't draw like the daily viewers. But they have a higher percentage. Like when those tournaments are happening, more people are watching Hearthstone. Then the only other one below it is PUBG, which hasn't had any chance to really get a competitive scene up and running because it's so new.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
totally.
it's like, and then like Rocket League's at 50%, StarCraft's at 44%, Call of Duty's 72%. So these are games that people are tuning in mostly to watch competitive games. And Overwatch, that's not what's happening. People are watching, and maybe that's because there hasn't been a good league setup yet, but I mean, this is a big risk. You're putting so much money on the line, and you need people to watch it. It needs to be like enjoyable to people. And honestly, personally speaking, I don't love to watch competitive Overwatch. I play Overwatch a decent amount, but I get a little bit lost watching the game. There's too many things happening. There's too many like moves being spammed, and it's hard to keep up with the action. And I'm not sure that people have really thought this through. And a lot of this old money is just like, oh, I want to get into esports. And Blizzard just convinced them, yeah, this is the game to go all in on. And you know what? Maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you have like somebody like Robert Kraft or Cronky, and they're sitting down and they're like, "Oh man, I'm thinking about this Overwatch," and their son or daughter who may have kids, their grandkids are talking about it, like, "Oh well, I play." Hearthstone, or I play Overwatch, and well, hey, how do you like Overwatch? It's good. I think it's going to be, a good investment. Of course, he talks to his team, and then the team's like, all right, yeah, let's give it a shot. And then they're like, all right, $20 million, because Robert Kraft is, when he signed over that check, he's looking Kaplan dead in the eyes. He's like, you better make sure this works. You better make sure it works. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. And it would really be tough for esports as an industry if this old money comes in, gets burned hard, and then they don't see the fault in their own ways, and they're like, oh, it's too early, and then they jump out, and it actually puts esports back in its progression and in its mainstay focus when like you're Robert Kraft and you're Stan Kroenke's like, oh no, that was a bad investment. When in reality, it may have not been a bad investment, but like esports in itself may not be a bad investment, but the way it was handled could be the issue.
my question to you is this: if you were well, say a professional like sports owner, like a Kraft or a Cronky or a Blank or whoever, would you go into Overwatch first, or would you go into one of the safer ones like a Dota or League of Legends, kind of like what Rick Fox did, or a fighting game? Because they may not, like Dota and League of Legends definitely have the money. Hell, even Hearthstone, they have the money. There's maybe
No,
not
what
as much money, but you're guaranteed money.
exactly? I think if I had 20 million, or even like that 20 million is like nothing to Robert Kraft, which is just absurd. But if I had the money, I'd be investing in a company. you got to diversify your assets. And these guys know that. Like, they know that better than anybody. I'd be investing in a Cloud9, trying to get on the board of a Cloud9 or an NRG or something like this, where you're not putting all your eggs into Overwatch's basket and being like, oh yeah, our Boston Overwatch team's going to win, and just instead invest in a corporation that already has tons of players, and with that big money behind them, you can start buying the best teams in the world. You can compete in an Overwatch League, but you also have your top guys in Hearthstone and in Smash and in Street Fighter and CS:GO. That's what I would be doing
Right, and I
instead
mean,
of
like, so NRG just got 3 new investors. They actually announced their San Francisco Overwatch League team, which is actually really funny with the 3 names I'm going to bring up. It's Michael Strahan, if you know,
yeah.
retired player from the New York Football Giants.
Yeah, now on the Today Show, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what he's been doing. Yeah.
I mean, it's success. Like he's had 100. Been successful.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch.
Beast mode.
Yeah, like he's a godsend. I love watching him play, and I just love him in general. And then you have Jennifer Lopez.
Right? Isn't that the most out of left field one?
Yeah, it's just like I was talking about it like in the chat. It's just like, all right, we got Marshawn. You know, they got that competitive back spirit, yada yada yada. And then it's like, all right, here comes J Lo. It's just like, all right. I mean,
Well, there's actually 2 more names I want to add to that who are both also invested. Shaquille O'Neal, the guy,
oh yeah,
he's on it, and so is Alex Rodriguez. A-Rod
A-Rod
are
actually got
both.
promoted. He's now part of the board of directors. He's no longer an investor. He's upgraded.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, because he was a Series A, I believe. I think they added most of these names in Series B, and A-Rod and maybe even Shaq as well were both in Series A.
Jimmy Rollins is also part of that team.
Oh, really? The Phillies?
Yep.
The old Phillies third
He's
baseman?
part of the
Right.
investing team.
Shortstop?
But that brings me to my point. They were smart and they invested into NRG.
Mhm.
So NRG is like what Overwatch did for people that don't know is they had the esports organization. So for example, they had NRG pay that $20 million fee. And then they're like, all right, you're in our league, new rules, you got to change the name. You can't be NRG, insert nickname here. You have to be. So they bought someone from San Francisco. So it'd be San Francisco, insert nickname here. What those
Who else did?
what
It's funny because I think most of the money you have all the big celebrity names, and I'm pretty sure the King's minority owner is also in there. And knowing how money works, he's probably like the majority of the money
Oh yeah,
backing.
he's definitely the like Uncle Pennybags from Monopoly in there, just dropping cash and then walking out. It's like just don't waste all of my money. But but yeah, like they were smart and they went with the organization. They didn't just go straight up and buy into the league.
Yeah, that's a much smarter way of doing it, in my opinion.
Like um, I just don't see that coming back. I don't know how that might come back and hurt Craft in long run because if it doesn't become successful, in which Overwatch said, "Hey, we might not get revenue until 3 years down the line," you're going to have issues.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if you're not in a total group, it's like I don't know. I'm just worried that people really just were like, "Oh, esports, that's a great idea," and they didn't really think about the investment they were making.
Yeah, and I mean, like we've all flippantly spent money. Like there's you cannot.
Not 20 million.
Well, all right, fine, $20. That's how much it is to them. We've all been like, oh man, here we go. Here's $20. I probably shouldn't have spent, or I could have saved that for something else.
That makes me so sad to think that that's like accurate.
Yeah, I know, right? Right.
Robert Kraft and it'll probably make another 20 mil in the wait, I'm gonna Google Robert Kraft's net worth, but he's got 6 months of the Overwatch League, and it's like if it doesn't work, he's probably made more than 20 mil.
I know, right? Like,
Yeah, Robert Kraft is
oh
6.2
my God.
billion. 6.2 billion. Wait, we do 6.2 billion
Are you really?
divided by
You're doing the math, aren't you?
yeah, I'm doing the math. Wait. Divided by 20 million. 310. Wait, what is? No, I didn't. I did that wrong. How do I do
What are you
it? I
trying to
haven't
do?
done math in a while. I'm a journalism major. I don't have to do math. So I have to do 20 million divided by. Here, I'll work on this. One sec. You talk
Pretty
for a
much it's
sec.
20 cents to him. That's the best way to put it. Instead of
It-
$20, it's maybe $2 or even worse, 2 cents. So here's my 2 cents. I'm joining this league. Like maybe we
yeah.
make a mountain out of a molehill because we're not them, but still.
Yeah, where I hear 20 million, I'm like, oh, that's a lot of money, and then you don't really do the scaling.
Yeah, and I I think one of the I
Oh
just
God.
like the rest of them. Most of them are owned by esports. One actually, real quick, that didn't get in that should have probably gotten in was Rogue, because they had the Overwatch champion team. I think of Apex. Let me look that up before I
Yeah,
flip
no,
it
I
up.
think you're right. Pretty.
And
They this
yeah,
just happened today, right? Where they didn't get their bid.
yeah, it happened today. So Nicole Carpenter of DOT Esports uh got something according to the ESPN report. So um yeah, they didn't get in. They probably should have.
Wow. Okay, so I just went to Reddit r esports, which is a pretty small community, but it
Mhm.
generally has some good news. The top comment on the Rogue, I don't know what I mean. We're good to cuss, right? If it's a quote, like I'm not
Oh
gonna.
yeah. You're fine.
Let me read this top comment. 24 upvotes. The Overwatch scene is a fucking disgrace for the industry. Overwatch will fail hard, and I hope all the gangsters in this shitty league will never see their money back.
Oh man, that is wow. Like I understand that it's Overwatch, and I understand even more. It's Reddit.
Yeah,
That is who
but
like
esports is a like our esports is usually a little more measured as a community. Usually, the smaller the community is, the less these terrible comments come. And this is just at the top.
yeah. And I'm just like, oh man, like bro, he's right though. The EU scene, they don't got anybody except for C9 from
Yeah.
there, and that's not good. I have a feeling maybe if this is successful, 4 or 5 years down the line, if it's still going, um, there will be no more uh, teams out in the Eastern Hemisphere. It'll only be in the U.S., maybe a team in Canada and a team in Mexico, just like any other esport
I
or
do
sport
love
in general.
that.
Like,
I love that they're trying this international franchising thing, though. It's so unique.
oh, it's a
Like,
huge gamble, and I love it, but I don't know if it's gonna work. That's the issue.
oh, I mean, there's a reason why it's unique because everyone else is like, no, it's a terrible idea. And Overwatch is like, we're going to try.
It's, well, it's one of those things. It's like, all right, man, you're not gonna make this jump. Don't try it. I'm gonna go try this jump. I'll be right back. And it,
Hold my money.
yeah, pretty much. All right, here. We'll do an even older reference from you. You ever heard of The Simpsons, young man?
Yes, I've heard of The
All
Simpsons.
right, so there was one
Thank you.
episode where Bart Simpson tried to jump the canyon back in like season 2. I was only 2 at that time, but
I've seen it.
yeah, where he stood there. That's what they're doing. Like Blizzard is right now. They're literally in that middle frame, and they don't know if they're going to make it or not. Like I don't.
That's a funny episode. Classic Simpsons is the best Simpsons.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, I mean, like everything. If it's 30 years old, it stays too long.
I want to meet somebody who's watching current episodes of The Simpsons, who's just like every Sunday is just looking forward to the new Simpsons episode
Oh
because
yeah.
I don't know that person.
No, like I don't like everyone. Even if they don't have cable, because cord cutting and stuff, they just wait on Hulu, waiting.
Yeah.
It uploads. They watch it, and they're like, all
I
right,
don't,
done. And then
I don't think
that
the
episode was so good.
yeah, that episode was great. What I wonder if Simpsons still has moments. Like they have to, right? Or are they just literally phoning it in completely?
I think they're waiting until 30, and then they're like, all right, we're done. Like we stole all your money enough from the last decade. So
They're already the longest running TV show, right? Or are they
yeah,
holding out for that?
no, they're the longest running with I think South Park being second, but they want to hit that 30. I know. I remember reading articles about that. Is they definitely want to hit that 30 mark. So
That makes sense. Wow, South Park's in its 21st season. South Park's still good.
I know. Well, South Park because they like it's weird how it's done because I think it's just the way Comedy Central and Fox does it because Fox has to check all the episodes and stuff like that. Comedy Central's like, all right, try not to break this line, and then Matt and Trey are like, whatever, and then they just shatter the line sometimes. So
Oh yeah, and they do current events. It's like this season's episode, they did like Charlottesville riots,
oh yeah,
and they did
and then
oh crap.
they'll bash anybody. They bash the president, the stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
And
they had Mr. Garrison as the president. That was hilarious.
well, that's the thing. It's like South Park is what The Simpsons was, and then Fox decided. I think one of the reasons it happened too is because Fox decided to go towards Family Guy, which is also in its decline. Like,
Yeah, 16 seasons for Family Guy.
oof.
Okay, but here's the important number. So I looked it up the longest running TV shows. South Park's 21 seasons, Simpsons is 29, but The Simpsons has 619 episodes
Mhm.
versus South Park's 278.
Oh, so the South Park season or not seasons? Yeah, the seasons are much shorter.
Or they're spread out more. They have longer breaks, whereas The Simpsons are like constantly running.
Yeah, because they still follow that old timey 1990s. We're all going to sit Sunday night and watch TV before the kids go to school and we have to work in the morning, afternoon. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but anyways, yeah. So they released. I mean, it was good on Rogue though. Like I read their twit long because that's the new press release. Um,
Oh God, don't get me started on that.
we'll talk about that closing out. We'll let you rant about that. But anyways, they let them. It was nice of them. They let their entire roster free so they all can pursue spots in the Overwatch League since they didn't get one.
Yeah, and their roster is, I mean, nuts
Oh, crazy!
basically.
Like
Yeah.
I love that. There's one line in here and it goes, quote, unfortunately we were not accepted for season one and have no option but to break up the most accomplished Overwatch team in the game's history so that players can accept offers. That is just like that is just a dig at Blizzard. Like saying, hey, we have the most successful people and you said no. Like
Yeah, exactly. And it's like why that's why they're being called gangsters on our esports because they literally but they came up with the money.
yeah, I mean
They
that's the
they
thing.
had the money. They scrapped it together. It was a little bit late, but Rogue got the money together. And they were
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Nope, too late."
Um I would love like them just to join other teams, or even as this commenter says, it's like, all right, that whole team just go over to that other, that clone over there called Paladins. Go
Yeah.
play with them, and
Yeah.
then because
Or
Paladins
go
is
back to school.
oh yeah yeah school school.
School. Why school when you can be a professional esports player?
I
Like
know
tell me that. When
I
you can
know
just play video games, it's like
like
eh,
what's worse, academic probation or carpal tunnel? Like come on now, it's
come on now.
better. But yeah. So with the Overwatch League, I just I don't. I just like it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough at the beginning, totally, but I think it's going to be. It may be successful a year down the line. I honestly don't know, and
Maybe. Why they're starting it's just so overzealous. Is that's the word I think describes it best. It's like 20 million entry fee. We're going to have teams all over the place. It's going to be a 6-month long season. And it's like just cool it a little bit. See if this model works
right,
before you commit to 6 months.
and you know why? If the first person, especially if it's like a first person shooting model, how come like Valve, who is they're good company, if they thought a first person shooter like this would work, they would have done it with Team Fortress.
Mm, that's a good point.
Like they did it with Dota. I don't understand why they wouldn't try it with Team Fortress. Like
Yeah, very very similar games in a lot of ways. And it's like Blizzard just hasn't really been super successful with an esport
Well, you
like
cover
StarCraft, I
Hearthstone.
guess.
Oh, StarCraft was
Well,
the beginning of like major RTS MOBA esports. Like,
yeah, I guess Heroes of the Storm, but they try so hard. Hearthstone is not a great esport. It was never designed to be an esport.
yeah,
Like,
they kind of forced it, didn't they?
oh yeah, they've 100% forced it. I actually had something I've been meaning to write. So Noblord, I don't know if that's it. He's got a zero in his name, but he had a post about the Hearthstone Championship tournament or the summer series, and he started off with people. If you ask pros in the Hearthstone scene what they should do or what you should do to get involved in the scene, they'll tell you don't do it. And I'm here to tell you why they're absolutely right.
Oh, really? So he did an actual post about staying out of it.
Yeah, it was so long. It was like pages and pages of stats and experiences, and he's very well versed in it. And basically, they've just sort of screwed over their pros in a lot of cases. Like balance is off, the tournament series is off. There's disconnects. It's just random enough for people to invest a ton of time into it, and then be where you like can increase your win rate so you can be a good player and be successful,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just random enough that when you play those other good players that really anything can happen. You can just draw bad, and all that time, all that energy goes into like a best of 3 or a best of 5, and it's gone, and then you lose and it's just over. It's like, oh, okay.
Right, and I mean, how are they having disconnects with a card game of all games? Like,
I play this game on my phone. Like that's what I don't get. And like they have like these giant tournaments, but then the second there's a disconnect, it gives the player can call for a rematch or can call for a regame unless there's an immediate lethal on the board.
which is
And so
understandable. Like,
yeah, but at the same time, if there's a lot of room for error, and then so we saw in a recent tournament, a player was up and he was up in an unfavored matchup. He drew well, he was playing well, and he's going to win almost 100% of the time. But he didn't have clear lethal on the board. He disconnects. They have to regame, and he plays like crap. He used this card Defile. I can't remember his name. I wish I knew his name right now. But he just made a misplay, a really horrible misplay that a player of his caliber would never make. And he's like, "Yeah, I was tilted. The disconnect tilted me," and it was just. I'm like, that's understandable.
yeah, I like, especially with a card game, you shouldn't be able to. You shouldn't have that issues because it doesn't take up a bunch of bandwidth. It doesn't take stuff up like that. But you need to, like, you're a $1 billion corporation. You need to get your head on straight and make sure like the game's going good. Like,
Have a tournament server. It's so easy. They play. They have to challenge each other on the normal server. Just have a separate like a tournament client where you have to log in and then your tournament's hosted on that, and it doesn't have to deal with the bandwidth from all the other people or like server issues. It's like, hey, this is our tournament client. We've made sure this works for the like. I mean, there's like what 50 people playing in like group stages of a tournament,
right.
maybe more, but you can create a way to make sure that this is focused. And it's like, oh, you lost a game on ladder due to a disconnect. Darn,
I know.
but it's whatever.
Oh, so sad. Too bad. Well,
Yeah,
better luck next time, kiddies.
yeah, but you lose a tournament game because of it. It's just horrible.
No, that's that's you gotta do something about that. And what if this happens with like Overwatch?
Mm. I think well the popular theory, I'm very into the like our Hearthstone and Hearthstone communities. It's like they said fuck it to Hearthstone basically to focus on Overwatch, and they've spread themselves too thin that they can't put all their time. Like you look at Riot Games, they have one focus. It's League,
Right. And Valve
and
has
they
just Dota, so they can focus straight on those two games.
Exactly. Like Rocket League is psionics, and that's their game. And if you just focus on that, like even just the tournament, like the production quality of Hearthstone tournaments is so lacking.
Well, yeah, I mean, like last time we were on, I was poking fun at the fact that like they're using like a wrap out that you could get at like the dollar store that of an intern or a 14-year-old kid could make for you.
Actually, though, and it's like even just so like I like take Rocket League for instance. They look really professional. They have a whole section of casters who are really good at their jobs, and they only have 3.1 million viewers on Twitch, whereas Hearthstone has 43.2. But because it's Psyonix's only focus, they're like, we're gonna make everything look good, look professional. And Hearthstone, they're just like, yeah, people play, people watch.
Yeah, right, and I understand that. I just like I'm looking at some of the stuff, and one of the games I always bring it up. Like Smite, it's a smaller niche sport, but the presentation looks better than Hearthstone somehow, and that's from like a third-rate company. And Blizzard, we know, is like a top-tier video game company, not just an esport company, a video game company. And we can't say, hey, we're trying to cut corners here because you made all that cash off of World of Warcraft, man, and
Yeah.
Diablo, and StarCraft. Like,
And StarCraft and Heroes of the Storm's even successful. It's
oh
like
yeah,
you're Blizzard, you force the issue with your games, but at the same time you're held to a lot higher standard. Like in the early days of League, it was like, yeah, right, like they listened to their community and they made a really great game. But people are more willing to be like, oh, it's a like that's the classic joke in our Hearthstone. It's a small indie company. They can't do anything.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Blizzard, the small indie company,
Yeah,
sure,
Blizzard is a small indie company. So
but
it's like, oh yeah, don't worry, it's just a small indie company. But it's like that's uh, I don't know. The competitive Hearthstone scene is in a very, very bad place right now.
yeah. So like, and if they're having that issue, that's their biggest one because I think StarCraft is starting to die off internationally. It might be just the Korean market that's really into it still. I gotta look into it, but
You're right. No, you're right. Looking at for I'm still on this Newzoo site and total hours on Twitch for StarCraft is 3.3, which is about Rocket League levels 3.1. Heroes of the Storms even at 5.2.
wait, so Heroes of the Storm is beating out StarCraft 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, more people are watching. In August of 2017, more people watched Heroes of the Storm on Twitch than StarCraft.
Okay, so yeah, then it's not like it's a bad game. It's just slowly, aging. Like
Yeah.
that's the best way to put it. And um, yeah, and if you're going to depend on something like that, you gotta make sure everything's up to standards. Like if you're coming with like little Tim, you know, hey, we're going to do this way. Yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
rough. But Blizzard, come on now.
Blizzard, like Player Unknown, they get a pass, even though PUBG is the most watched game or was the most watched game on Twitch in August,
I'm
more than League of Legends.
my theory to you is this: people love the Hunger Games so much they want to relive it. Like that's the only thing. It's like
I love it.
I haven't played it, but I'm just waiting to like when I eventually get the money to buy it. I'm gonna see a bunch of like Katniss Everdeen's running around or girls with blonde hair running around trying to shoot bows. And
I love it. I think I mean, it's such a unique idea, and that's the thing that people need to be wary about in the esports industry is these games you're investing in. They're not basketball. They're not football. They're not standard commodities that are always going to go up. It's like they might just fall out of favor.
oh yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. And now like the esports industry is trying to get into pug, and I'm just like, why? Like that game's gonna fall off soon. Maybe in like 6 months to a year at the most. I would not put money into that, but I
Yeah.
guess
How
it
do you make a
is.
competitive scene with that? I'm not really super familiar with the game mechanics to be honest. I've no like you, I've never really played it that much, but it just doesn't. It's so random, and it
Yeah.
just doesn't. I don't. I don't see how it lends itself to a good competitive scene.
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, but so yeah, like I don't know. Also, as we let's change gears a little bit, but still keeping in the Overwatch League. You see a couple of teams release their nicknames. I mentioned one earlier, the Shanghai Dragons, and then Envious, who's based in Dallas, is called the Dallas Fuel.
Why?
The owner is somehow big in the oil industry, and
Of course he is. That I realized that the second I was like, wait, Dallas
Dallas
Fuel
Fuel, and it's just like, yeah,
Oil.
he said they're naming it because of him, and I'm just like, I don't know how I like it. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I like the name, and the colors look dope as hell. Like this Genji blue, it looks great. Like the colors and the scheme and stuff look great. Uh, I don't know about the name anymore. I kind of second guessing. I'm like,
Yeah.
like I'm just like I don't know how I feel. So but one of the things they could do with these nicknames and the teams itself, which is going to come out when the rest of the teams get released, their names and rosters, is they're going to be able to purchase their names in the in game. So you'll be able to like, sport your favorite organization. Well, I guess I can call them teams in this one. Their team's colors while you're playing. Um,
Yeah.
do you think that money should go into like a pool like Dota does, or should it go straight into like the owners and Blizzard's pocket?
I think the Dota's doing it right, and it should go into a pool. And I'm going to tell you right now that it's going to go straight into the owner's pocket.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree on that, and I totally agree that like I think all the games, if you have a client and you buy stuff for say either the International World, HRX, whatever, all that money or a majority of that money should go into the pool for because it and then yeah, so that way the players get that cash. Like one of the things that bothered me is like I was saying before, Smite had it was like one of the highest ever cash outs for World Championships before esports got really really big. It was ahead of League but behind Dota as per usual. It was a $1 million cash out. Last year they had a controversy because they capped it, saying that we're not going to spend this much amount of money on the players.
Mm.
And I have never seen like an outrage of a fan base in a while. And it was right, and it was rightfully so because like, why are you going to stop the value of it? Because they actually do have kind of like a crowdfunding. You go buy their World Championship skins or whatnot, and that goes into it. But why stop the money flowing? Because if it eases a little off of your back and it goes into the players' pockets, it helps out everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. You know what? I want to bring it back to Dallas for a sec, if that's unless you have any more thoughts
No, go for it, man.
on player sharing. But it really surprises me that the owner of the Dallas team is not Mark Cuban.
He wants to get into League of Legends. That's why.
So he's smart about it? That's classic Mark. Yeah, of course he'd be more
Oh,
on top of
and
it.
the thing is, I wonder if they're going to actually let him in. Like, they won't let him into Major League Baseball. He wants a baseball team. I would love to have him in a baseball team.
Oh my god, baseball's so boring.
Oh my god.
Somehow Mark would just like
Yeah, he was been talking about League of Legends, and I wouldn't be
smart man.
Yeah, actually wouldn't be surprised though if he doesn't like try to sneak his way into the league like during season 2 if they want another team or two, especially in the Texas area where you can have a good rival going.
Yeah. Dallas is his city though, and like the Genji skin, man, that looks like the
Yeah,
Mavericks.
it's straight
Like
up Mavericks. Like,
yeah.
um,
That is the Mavericks colors.
yeah,
I guess they're doing the whole I guess Dallas Cowboys kind of have a similar so it's just the Dallas colors or just the blue and blue.
yeah, I guess so. I mean, it looks good, but yeah, the only team out there that aren't really blue are the stars for the hockey team. I think.
And oh yeah, I was
Even
gonna say.
Texas Rangers are blue, like their majority colors. I
Yeah,
think it's
red and blue.
but it's their jerseys are majority blue.
Point. I wonder what colors the other teams are gonna. You think Robert Kraft's gonna go with like a Patriots look or a Celtics look?
I don't
Wait,
know.
does he own the Celtics? He doesn't own the Celtics,
No, he
does
does own the Celtics.
he? Yeah, just the Patriots.
Yeah, but the Shanghai Dragons, they're going with the red. I mean,
Hmm.
red China, like that's
Yeah.
their colors. Like,
Chinese New Year dominated by like dragons and
oh
red
yeah,
color.
yeah, and I mean, so it's gonna be. Oh man, I wish Brazil had a. Brazil should have. I wish Brazil could have invested in the team, picked up Lucio, because I think that skin would have been dope.
Oh my god, the Brazilian national team.
Oh
I feel like you already have that, don't you, from the Olympics set?
yeah, yeah, but I mean, I want
Yes. No, I'm with you.
like, I don't know what they would be called. I hopefully it's something a little less cliche than what we got. But all right, we got about 3 to 5 minutes left. Twit long. Why do you hate him?
Oh my god, because it's lazy. Because it detracts from the entirety of what Twitter was originally. It was a place to do quick hits, quick thoughts, and you had to really be focused on brevity as you were on Twitter. And now people are just oh, they're getting lazy, and it's just you don't have to focus on your website. You just do like there's no formatting involved. I don't know. I guess as a like journalist, I like to see a proper looking press release instead of just a statement coming out on Twitter. It's just lazy. Bad web design, it's bad, and it just looks weird on Twitter. Like I like to look through Twitter and just be like scrolling through with like five and it's just like, "Oh, here's a paragraph." And I'm like, "That's why I'm not on Facebook."
Right.
Cuz I don't like seeing paragraphs of information. And if you really have a good thread, do one tweet and be like thread, and if the first tweet gets your interest, then you look at all of them, and it's like that's a better way if you want to have long form thoughts on Twitter. But don't mess up my timeline by having just these long paragraphs. It doesn't look like Twitter.
And I'm looking at it right now, and it's just like, all right, cool. Twit long. You got your little paragraph or whatever, your quote unquote press release, and then you has like for mine it says you may like retro video game consoles guaranteed to work. Cruise ship workers finally tell the truth about what happens on cruise. Like what? Like it just
Yeah.
looks gross. And then of course you could buy the ad free, but I'm like Twitter's ad free mostly. Why can't you be like Twitter? Why can't
Be
you?
like
Why
Twitter.
can't you buy Twitter? Like, I mean, Twitter is going to 280 characters, so there's going to be a little more paragraphs involved. They're trying that out. I think it's going to be unmitigated disaster.
I don't like it. It's what made Twitter unique in the first place, and what people were like, "Oh wow, this is something different. This is a new social media." It's like now you're going to be more.
Longer and long-winded and gas baggy. That's our job, man. Come on.
Yeah, no, we're the gas bags. Come on.
Stop taking our jobs. But yeah, so the twit longs, I don't like some of them. I've read are like 2 pages trolling, of course, or 2 sentences. I'm sorry, trolling, of course, and then some of them are like 2.5 pages of like, well, this is why I don't like this esport player, and this is why I don't like that esport player. I'm like, if I want my drama, man, I'll go watch General Hospital. Like that's still on. Like General Hospital. Speaking of long shows, it's like been on forever. Let's see here. How many seasons has it been? Okay, it's on season 55.
What? General Hospital?
Yes. Last episode is season 55, episode 131. The show started in oh damn it, I just had it. 1963, April 1st. So it was I don't know if it was just a really, really long April Fool's joke. But yeah.
I wow, that's amazing to me. So why is it not on list of longest running scripted U.S. primetime television series? Not primetime? I guess that was the list I was looking at earlier.
Oh, yeah, I think because it's like midday. Because I remember when I was homesick, my mom would always watch it. And that's how you knew if I was really sick, is I had to suffer through that stuff.
Oh yeah, or what's the other one? All My Children.
Oof, that's a bad one too.
Yeah, yeah. My dad used to be addicted to All My Children.
Oh, really?
He's like, yeah, I've been watching this since I was a kid. I'm still watching. I'm like, oh my god, how?
Like, well, I mean, clearly literally, it's been around since 1963. And according to this awesome Wikipedia page, where they got from the TV Guide, 13,000 episodes as of February 24th, 2014.
That's disgusting. What's the point? What do you watch? It's like they can't be good. You have to be just doing ridiculous things. Like I don't get the appeal.
Well, one of the people that loves the show, I'm looking at the famous fans, is Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky, maybe the best hockey player of all time, loves that show. Like, I just don't no.
Yeah, that's nuts.
But yeah, I think that's a good note to go out on. Here we are. We're at number 4, only 12,996 episodes to go before we catch up to that show. Yeah. Rich, it's been great.
It's been great, Terrell, as always.
I hope you're around for those other 19,000 shows.
I'll be watching.
I'll be like old with a beard, like white hair, white beard, yelling at the kids to get off my lawn. And I'll just keep my stuff in the same exact place, so whatever happens. If the place is torn down, I'll make sure they keep this one little section for me, so we can keep doing the show.
I'm down for it. We'll get up there eventually.
All right, man. It was good talk. It was good talk about the Overwatch League. Check us out. Rich, real quick, promote yourself.
Hey, follow me on Twitter at Mitch Reams. My handle, Rich Memes, is just an anagram of my name. Just flip the first and last names. But at Mitch_Reams on Twitter. Follow me. Right in Hearthstone, talking a lot of actual sports, Oregon Ducks, NFL, esports, as always.
All right, and I'm Terrell Skelly. Follow me at tskelly33 at or not my email, my just Twitter account.
Follow my Gmail account.
Yes, that too. Google Hangouts, because I hear that's still relevant. But check us
Really?
out. Check our rating out. Check other people's excellent rating out over at Break the Game, breakthegame.net. Follow us on Twitter at breakthegame.net. We even have a Facebook account, so if you want a paragraph to, bother Rich, write it over there. And then we're going to have this uploaded on YouTube. Other people have stuff on YouTube with their content. Check that stuff out. It's good stuff. All right. We'll see you guys next week. League of Legends Worlds. We're going to have Luzad with us. It's good talking to you guys.
Adios. Good talking to you.